to the Redcar Cleveland Business Network. For those who don't know me, my name is Darren Winter. I'm the Company Director of Duco Digital, and with Karen King of King Celebrant Services, we're volunteers who co-manage the Redcar Cleveland Business Network. This month is a special Business Network event as we've teamed up with Redcar Cleveland Ambassadors, and we're pleased to invite Richard Baker here from Redcar Cleveland Ambassadors. You're going to be talking a little bit later on. We've got a bit of a festive theme in addition to the business growth talks that we normally have planned. But just before moving on to today's agenda, I've got a couple of quick notes to make. We will have some journalists from national media will be joining us towards the end of the Business Network today. They will be looking for or inviting some people for comments. So please feel free to offer your comments. All that we would ask and we would recommend and suggest is please be mindful of the comments that you do give. They could be used to represent the views of Redcar. So this is for national media, it's not for local. So do just be careful what you say because you will be played on air. Any problems with that, just come and see me. If you don't want to make a comment, you don't have to, okay. One other thing, just with timing, we are really quite tight with timing today. We've got 4 great guest speakers. Usually we would have some questions in between the guest speakers, but there just isn't the time to do that today, so we need to keep it quite a tight ship. But please go and speak to the guest speakers afterwards, or drop them an email if you haven't got time to follow up, because there is some great content today. Quick note of housekeeping. Thank you to Redcar Cleveland Borough Council. They provide the room, refreshments and the underground car parking, which is all free. And Be Financial, they support the website, which is redcarclevelandbusinessnetwork.com. All the events are recorded and they're going to be available to watch again later on in the week on our social networks and also on the website. There is no fire alarm evacuation planned, so if the alarm does sound, please follow the green running man out to the right and over to the main staircase. You'll also find the toilets just outside on the side. If you need to leave early, you can just leave by the door that you came through. Okay, so the agenda today, we've got Lola Ibhadon and Richinda from EVA Women's Aid talking about business growth. And at 8:10, we've got Shafto from Action on Hearing Loss. 8:20, Christmas social media tips from myself. And also at 8:30, we've got Richard from Redcar Ambassadors about Christmas events and initiatives. And at 8:40, just time for a quick 5-minute about any events that you'd like to promote, any offers or anything that's going on around the borough that you'd like to mention. At the end, 15 minutes to 20 minutes time left for further networking, and also to sign up to the Redcar Cleveland Ambassadors as well, which Rich will talk about a bit later on. So I'm just going to invite Lola up. She's going to be our first speaker. I'm going to do a wizardry in between today and get these slides ready.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
For those who don't know me, my name is Lola, as we have been introduced. I work for Redcar Cleveland Council in the Business Growth Team. This morning, I've asked, did I ask? To talk about business.
You demanded.
To talk about business growth, because it's what we do. And I think we do what it says on our label. And to make it a bit more real, I've invited one of our partners, EVA Women's Aid, to join me to do the practical. I'm just going to tell you theory that you can read up in the books and on the internet. But EVA Women's Aid will demonstrate how they've applied the principles I'm going to share with you. So our topic is, business growth, but the question is, you might want to ask, why should I grow my business? Simple answer from me is, what would happen or could happen if you didn't grow it? That's for you to answer. Generally, in business and in life, nothing stays stable. Absolutely nothing. I'm sure this morning your plans didn't go as, what you've done this morning so far, maybe hasn't gone as quite as you planned it. Possibly, that's just part of life. And the same thing is with business. Everything often have to go with plans A, B, C, sometimes D even. And so, change is the only thing that we can keep talking about. So if you're going to deal with growth, change is a big thing you've got to embrace and deal with. And for that, I would say you can't do anything about it. It's just part of life, part of business. You can't predict it. And in the climate that we're in, we're all aware what's going on. Politically, economically, everything. It's all happening out there. We sometimes don't have control over it. And that's why all we have to do is be aware of it, or them, or the issues, and then work towards how you can adapt. Now then, when you talk about dealing with changes and all of those things I've just mentioned, how do you do them? Because it's such a jungle. So I looked for this picture that's got everything about business. It talks about your goals, your strategy, your team, your ideas, your business, competition, the plan. Oh, there's so much going on. How do you do them? Interestingly, you need to do them at the same time together so that your business, hopefully, is on the right path. The textbooks that I refer to, there are two guys that kind of worked on a model that I like. I don't remember their names. I think they're Kaplan and Lawton.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
the balanced, that kind of thing.
Yeah, big marks.
So I like them because they talk about looking at 4 aspects of your business: the customers, the finance, your systems, and the kind of the control you have over your processes. Everything have to align. And finally, it's okay to know your business, to know your customers, your finance, the systems and processes that you need to do. But have you, as a person and as a business, got the capacity to handle everything that you're aiming for? You can dream. Have you got the capacity? Will your money stack up for what you're thinking of? Will your customers like what you're offering? Sorry, I'm going off a line there, but you know what I'm trying to say. So basically, for the customers, we've heard it here many times, time and time again. Speakers have said to you, don't just offer customers what you think they need. Offer them what they want. You can create things in your head, but if they don't want it, it's a waste of your time. And I don't care whether you're in social business or you're in a commercial business, same principles. And that's why I've invited EVA, because they would apply the same thing, whether they're getting it through grants or trading or whatever. It's the same process, it's the same principle that apply. So we're talking about the different factors and the jungle and everything you have to put together. I've talked about that, so it's important. And this is where we come in as the business growth team of the council. We may not have the answers, but we can give you questions that will help you think, and will help you restructure and think about ways, to redesign what you do. As I say, we don't have the answers. We don't know your business. It's your business. You're closer to it. It's your vision. But you're so close sometimes, too close to see what we can see. So we can come in. If it's not us, we can refer you to partners if we don't have the expertise. And I'm sure many people in this room have used us in different ways. So my conclusion, before Richinda comes up to share the practical side of everything I've told you, is that I'll let you read for yourself. And I'm sure you've seen this quote many times before. Okay. If you want any support, that's what we offer as a team. And we work right across the council. We try, to pull in resources where needed to answer questions around those things. If your need is not listed, we will listen and we will try and find answers to them. And that's us. Thank you. They're clapping for you, Richinda. This is Richinda. Take us photo. You forgot it.
She's very demanding.
I am. Yeah, like I said, Richinda Taylor is the CEO of EVA. Have you ever heard of EVA Women's Aid?
Oh, that's a nod.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's good. That's a positive start.
Have fun.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for I'll just throw everything on the floor now. Thank you so much for letting me come and talk about EVA Women's Aid and our journey over the last few years. I've been CEO at EVA for 6 years. I arrived in 2013. We had no money, we had no prospect of any money. The 10 staff that were there at the time were being paid from reserves, which were going like this really quickly. So it was a case of having to do something quite quickly in order to get us stable so that we could look at how we wanted to move the business on. And here is just a few of the services that we provide. So what we wanted to do was be unique. We wanted to offer something different, because you don't make a difference by being the same as everyone else. And so we cultivated a unique product. We are the only organisation in the region that provides a full wraparound service for victims of domestic abuse and sexual violence and rape. We are the only organisation in the area that has that dual kind of support. There are a handful in the whole of the UK that do that, and the other 5 are in the south, so we're the only one in the northeast. So we already offer a very unique product to the region. We're an independent organisation. We rely entirely on grant funding and our own fundraising efforts and any donations that we get. So we don't have, there is this misconception that charities have access to lots of public funds. It's not true. We work very hard to get the money that we have. So we developed our unique product. We wanted to do something different, and in order to attract more funding, funders want to see you do something different. They don't want to fund something that's been running really well for years. They want you to have creative practice. They want something innovative, and so that's what we tried to do. I'll come on to that shortly. So we wanted to grow the business because we realised that at EVA we could provide something that filled the gaps in the cracks in the pavement that statutory organisations like the NHS, the CCG, the local authority, the PCC couldn't provide for whatever reason. And the nice thing about the local services is that we have that local knowledge, we employ local people, we really offer something good for the area. We also wanted to generate our own income. Anybody who's familiar with the VCS, the voluntary community sector, will know that the pots that we can apply for are getting smaller, they're getting harder to find, it's more competitive. So you have to do something to think outside the box in order to generate unrestricted income, which is really, really hard to find. So 2 of the best and most successful products, in inverted commas, that we have at EVA have been born out of discussions with and feedback from our service users, and we take the feedback from our service users very, very seriously indeed. We ask everybody, all our service users, to complete an evaluation form, a feedback sheet, and we read them, and we look at them, and we look at how we can implement the ideas, and we hold forums with our service users, because as Lola has already said, we want to give the women that we support what they want, not what we think that they need. So the challenges of running a charity are that we deal all the time with rising numbers. When I first arrived, we worked with 250 women a year. Last year we worked with over 1,000. So in 6 years we've quadrupled the number of people that we support. And in addition to those 1,000, we had another 1,000 contacts with other women who didn't come on to be full service users. So we worked with them with some phone support or email support, or they came in for a one-off discussion. That's an awful lot of women in this area that we support when you think there's a population of around 142,000, I think it is here. So what we wanted to do was this. I had a conversation with a woman that we were accommodating in one of our safe houses, and the 2 safe houses that we ran at the time were geared towards younger people. And if we had a vacancy, and because we don't like turning anyone away, we would offer one of the beds in those properties to an older person. And so it was in the conversation with Julie, who was in her early 50s, and she was in one of our safe houses with younger residents, and she said, oh, it's really nice, I cook for them, I worry about them when they're not in, they play the music loud, they don't get up very early in the morning, and I can never find a mirror. Because they took mirrors off the communal walls and took them into their own rooms, which have key fob entries. So out of that conversation with Julie made me think, right, what we need is a property that's just for older women. So I went looking for some funding for to put a deposit on a house to buy, the cost of the refurb of that house, and some other funding for a case manager who would work with the women who came into that property. Fast forward about 18 months, and all those 3 people who I'd applied to grants for were saying to me, has the other one said yes yet? Because if they say yes, we will. And it just got to the stage of, will one of you please say yes? Because then everybody will say yes. And luckily they all said yes. And then 9 months whizzed by, and on the 1st of June in 2015, which was a Monday, we opened our 45 plus safe house, which is the UK's first and only safe house for older women. And by Friday the 5th we were full, and we've stayed pretty much full in that property ever since. So since then we've opened a 4th safe house, and that one is geared towards women with complex needs, specifically mental health issues, and we replicated that model by looking for some funding to help us with the refurb, the cost of installing security equipment, and 2 specialist mental health support workers. For both of those properties, I went to Charity Bank for a loan, so we have social investment as well. And part of the process of that, which was a very lengthy and difficult process, I'm not going to lie to you, it's not exactly straightforward. But part of that process was convincing Charity Bank that although we'd had 2 years of not being very successful at EVA, we had a new CEO, we had a new board, we had a new way of thinking, and we had big plans of how we were going to grow. And luckily they took a chance on us, they took a punt on us. I was also unknown because I was new in post, I don't live in this general area, so nobody actually knew me here. So I'm very grateful that the board, who were not risk averse, that's another thing that was important, is to get a board who were not risk averse, everybody took a chance, and we got our social investment loan, and we topped that up to buy the mental health focused property that I've just been telling you about. So we now have 4 properties that we use as safe houses, and a couple of weeks ago we actually bought our own office building, which is on the High Street in Redcar, and opposite Wilkinson's, in case you don't know where we are. And we did that with 3 grant applications from Comic Relief, Tudor Trust and Cloth Workers. And that came about because we had established ourselves over the last few years as knowing what we were doing, I think, and that we are able to run properties, and that it was contributing to our sustainability to not have to pay rent. We were halfway through a 10-year lease, so to not have to pay rent for the next 5 years, and luckily all 3 of those grant applications were successful. So buying that building has actually not cost us a penny, and what this means is that it's our commitment to the community, it's our commitment to the victims in Redcar and Cleveland that we're here to stay, and we're not going anywhere. And on the strength of the 45 Plus project that I've just been telling you about, which also included delivering to various organisations in the area awareness raising sessions of what to do if a woman discloses abuse to you, how to refer on to us, and how to respond to her. And a poster campaign focusing on using older women. It was actually the mum of one of my members of staff, on older women, and that it's not always or just about violence, domestic abuse, that there are lots of elements to it. So we used an older woman in that poster campaign as well. And the following year we won 5 awards for that project, and as you can imagine, every funding application I make now says we are an award-winning service on the first line, and I milk that for everything that I possibly can, because that helps attract more money into the area. And I just wanted to finish by saying that we are a small organisation, but we're growing, and we bring in over $500,000 of support for victims in this area, which would not normally be available to statutory organisations. And so I'm constantly banging on the door of the local authority and the PCC and the CCG and anybody else who will stand still long enough to listen, to say you need to be supporting the local organisations, because we have access to funds that you don't. And if EVA wasn't here working with those 1,000 women plus and bringing in over $500,000 a year, what are you going to do without that money and without support for those women? So it's really important that the statutory organisations, and I keep saying, just give me 30 grand a year for a member of staff, that'll be fine, and you prop up all those other things that we do and bringing in the money. So thank you very much for listening. And I would normally say, let's have some questions, but
you've got about a couple of minutes, so if anybody wants to ask any questions, I can get the next slides ready as well. So please ask Richinda.
I'm happy to answer any questions if I can. Yes, Jackie.
The wraparound service, what does that mean?
Yeah, so that means that we offer everything for a victim, from accommodation to support with a key worker to programmes and to an exit plan with ongoing support as and when she's ready to leave one of our supported accommodation properties. You don't have to come and stay with us to access support. You can do that without, you can stay in your own home, or if you have alternative accommodation, you can still access support from us, but we do have those bed spaces available if women need it.
What do you think your biggest challenge, what do you foresee your biggest challenges in the next couple of years?
Yeah, we have a large volunteer team. We have 23 staff now and we have 19 volunteers. But I need the paid staff in order to recruit and manage and support those volunteers. So if I don't have the funding to keep those core staff going, we potentially fall away with the volunteers. And for example, with the counsellors, we have 13 volunteer counsellors, but we only have 3 paid counsellors. But those 3 paid counsellors do the presentations to universities, for example, they recruit the volunteers and they support them. If I don't have the funding for those 3 counsellors, we potentially lose the 13 volunteer counsellors, and that means we don't have a counselling service. And in 2018, we had we delivered over 3,000 counselling sessions. That's an awful lot of counselling, and we can do that. We can quadruple what we offer because of those volunteers. So the biggest challenge, I think, is finding having the funding for a volunteer coordinator, because somebody has to manage the volunteers. I sadly don't have time to do that. And the ongoing funding for the core services and for the core members of staff, because for the CEO, admin and for finance, it's really, really difficult to pull the money in. Most of the funding is project-based, and so all our staff have a funding stream attached to them.
That's great. And I think, like Lola says, that even though you listen to a charity and social enterprises here today, it's the same for normal business, that we all have challenges with finance and business growth, finding customers and planning ahead. So I know Richinda and Lola would happily take any questions that if you want to ask them about how the challenges that they face and how the things that you can take from that and put that into your own business, then definitely go and speak to them at the end.
Yeah.
And support the organisation as well.
Yes, please do that. I brought some goodie bags today, which I'm very happy to give to anybody who'd like to take one. There is some information about EVA and a few bits of promo material. Please take one, and if you have a look at them, please feel free to give them to a woman who you think might need them. Very happy for you to do that. And thank you so much for letting me talk about EVA today.
Out comes Rachel.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll warn you all now, I'm not very good at this. I'm making it up as I go along, so we're in it together. My name is Rachel Shafto, and I am a Community Support Officer for Action on Hearing Loss. We were formerly known as RNID, the Royal National Institute for Deaf. People were confusing us with RNIB, which was Royal National Institute for Blind, and bizarrely RNLI. But as far as we know, deaf people don't float any better than hearing people, so we thought we'd change the name. So here we go. I am based in the Tees Valley. I'm actually based at Middlesbrough Deaf Centre, where I manage the services that we provide. It's a community centre. But I'm also currently the Specialist Employment Advisor for Redcar in Cleveland. Now, this has been a temporary project that we're doing, running up until the 31st of December. We were trying to look to see where there's some failings, where things are falling down in employment and getting deaf people or people with a hearing loss into employment. It's become more about accessibility, because we realised that one of the main problems that people were a bit frightened, really. They see people like me who can't hear properly and go, oh bless. Or they see people like me who are signing and go, God, I don't want to employ that person, never going to be able to understand them, will they be able to do this job? Yes, absolutely. We can do everything a hearing person can do, and we can generally do it without getting distracted as well. My contact details are on here, and I will be hanging around for a bit later on, so if you'd like to get those from me or from my support worker here, Sam, we'll be able to give you those. I'm very conscious of the time, so I'm going to try and flick through this. So, we started in 1911 down in London. We were, well, Leo Bon, who was our founder, was aware that there was pockets of help all over the UK, but nothing central. So he decided that we needed a national organisation that could cover everything, and we've been going ever since. We help people with deafness, tinnitus and hearing loss to take control of their lives so that they can live the life that they choose and not be defined by that hearing loss. Deaf is not all that somebody is. And the support that we provide can be befriending, which is what we do at the Deaf Centre, community outreach, it can be education, information provision, and we do a lot of research as well. We're sort of looking into causes and cures for things like tinnitus, which is a really debilitating problem that some people have. So when we say hearing loss, there's 4 main versions of that. So we have mild. It's something you might notice in grandparents, parents, you know, when it's quite, what did you say? What did you say? No, I didn't catch. Say that again. You then get moderate, which is people like me, really. I lip read mainly. I use a bit of sign. It's not that bad. I can live one-to-one, talk to people, fine. Severe, that's when you get into sort of people really relying on hearing aids and lip reading. And then you have profound, which is what most people think of when you say deaf. Somebody with little to no hearing whatsoever. They may have that sort of stereotypical speech pattern that people associate with deafness, and they do tend to use sign language quite a lot. And there are more than 11 million people in the UK who are living with hearing loss at the moment. In terms of population, that is 1 in 6. So if you look around this room, 1 in 6 of you can have been or will be affected by hearing loss at some point. And we do expect by 2035 that that will rise to 1 in 5. We do live in an ageing population, and hearing loss does come with age, so that's where that sort of increase in part comes from. When we get on to employment, 5 million people with hearing loss in the UK are of working age. Now there are some, I'll put some employers' guides out. We didn't have enough for every chair, but there are more statistics relating to that and some more information in those if you'd like to look into it a bit more. It comes across as 12 in every 100 employees, or for the smaller businesses, 1.2 in every 10. So research has shown that more than half of the employees with hearing loss put off telling their employer because they're worried about a negative reaction. You know, well, are you really going to be able to continue your job if you can't hear what's going on in a meeting? Or, you know, is a hearing aid really going to work in our environment? Absolutely, there's no reason for it not to. And there are lots of ways around that, which we will touch on briefly later. So we say a lack of understanding and support can lead to very talented individuals missing out on job opportunities and promotions. Somebody who has been in a specific industry all of their life has a lot of skills that you're not going to get from somebody who's just walked into a job. You know, and then they could be missing out on all sorts, and you are missing out on that skill that they have. So as employers, we're going to go right back to basics. When you're advertising jobs, I don't know if anybody's heard of the Disability Confidence Scheme. Yeah?
Yeah.
That is a brilliant thing to sign up for. It just it shows people that you are willing to look at what you can do to employ them. It can make people more confident to apply to your business. You can provide alternative methods of contact. One of the simplest things that we say to people, and this isn't just for employees, this is for your customers as well, have a text message service. A lot of people go, well, we've got an app. Well, I have a lady who's 93. Now, we managed to teach her text messaging, but apps, it's not going to happen. She's come up with all sorts of weird and wonderful things on her internet phone, and we just keep, you know, Joyce, just put it down now. Text messages, though, brilliant. There used to be minicom services, the type talk services. They're still in place, but the younger generation now using text. It's cheaper, it's easier, and it's private. Type talk services, you have an operator that's relaying messages. So for a private conversation, most people do now prefer text. Let recruitment agencies know that you are willing to employ people with a disability. We have come across people who've said, oh, well, I've gone to such and such recruitment agency, and they've said not to bother applying for this because they don't think that I'll be accepted because of my hearing loss. If you let the recruitment agencies know that you are willing and you are keen to employ somebody who has a disability, not just a hearing loss, it could be a sight loss, it could be a mobility issue, anything, let them know. And they will then know that they can pass candidates on to you. And make sure that your applications, and I'm sure most of you do, it states that you champion quality and diversity. Again, it makes a huge, huge difference. When you've been told for many years that you can't do something, to see somebody going, yes, you can, and you can do it with us, it's a massive confidence boost. So, your application process. If you state that you can offer communication support, now that may be, if somebody says, well, I'm profoundly deaf, I need an interpreter, you can get an interpreter for your interviews, and it can go through the Access to Work scheme. You can have somebody who takes notes, you can have a lip speaker, as Sam is here, because I lip read, if I miss what somebody's saying, she sort of makes the mouth patterns so that I can lip read and use what hearing I have to understand what's being said. So there's a lot of different communication support. You can offer that at interviews. Keep your language simple. I'm sure everybody has some jargon associated with their industry. We all do. My husband's a computer person. He does keep telling me it's a network something or other. And he comes in and he goes, well, we've got an LAP, a WLAN, and I'm not a clue. That is in part because I don't know anything about computers, but in great part because all these acronyms and stuff mean nothing to me. I'm out of that industry. For a deaf person, all the jargon and stuff can just make things a lot more confusing anyway. Consider offering a job trial. It may be, again, not just for deafness, for sight loss, for anything. Somebody may not be able to complete a traditional interview process, but they could maybe come in for one day and show you what they can do, instead of telling you what they can do. Which, to be honest, for a lot of people who get nervous in interviews, it can be a great thing to do anyway. So the interview process. Employers who've reached level 2 or 3 in the Disability Confidence Scheme, they should offer an interview to a disabled person if they are capable of doing the job. If you're wanting somebody who is going to work on your reception desk and your switchboard, you're not going to employ a deaf person. If the job is to work in a factory, something like that, then absolutely hearing isn't going to be a barrier. If you want somebody who is completely blind to come out and pick colour charts for a decorator, again, not going to happen, but they may be able to do other things. There are ways around it. We're not saying this person has a disability, they've ticked a box if you interview them. Absolutely not. They have to be capable of doing the job. Under the Equality Act of 2010, employers are required to make reasonable adjustments to ensure that candidates with a disability are not put at a substantial disadvantage. I'm really sorry, it's very early. I can't remember all of this at this time in the morning. Find out about communication needs that people have. You can ask. So you make it a blanket question that you ask everybody. You don't have to go, well, I think this person is disabled. Just pop it on the application form again. Do you have any communication needs we need to be aware of? And people will tell you if they do have one. I certainly do. I milk it for all it's worth. And make sure that you do book any services that you need, such as interpreters, lip speakers, anything like that, as soon as possible, because there's not many of them out there, and they do get booked up really, really quick. So we go on to reasonable adjustment. They can be put in place for any member of staff, new or old. You can ask your staff, does anybody need any changes? You can get extra loud telephones. You can get pager systems to work with your fire alarms. There's all sorts that you can do. Let your staff know that you are willing. If they come to you and tell you they've got a problem, let them know that you're happy to make those adjustments. You can use a workplace assessment scheme to find out what's needed, what you can do. And don't worry about the cost of any of these things. They can be supported through the government's Access to Work scheme. And a lot of them are really free, simple, easy changes that you can make. Now, we do a free 2-hour workshop, which is available until the 31st of December, where you get to see me again, which I know you'd all be very keen to do. We come in and we discuss things like good communication, how to set up and hold meetings in a way that's more accessible for people. We do a bit of basic sign language, so good morning, how are you, my name, all this sort of thing. We go through the essentials, coffee, tea, wine, everything you need for your employees. And we do some myth busting of deafness. So I get asked a lot of strange questions like, oh, you're deaf, can you drive? Yes. Oh, you're deaf, can you have children? Well, if I don't, there's going to be 2 very disappointed short people running around my house. You know, so we go through a few of those sort of things as well. Now, like I say, it's open to everybody in the Redcar and Cleveland area. It is completely free and it's available to the 31st of December, and you can contact me to book. Have I gone over time?
Only slightly, but you've done very well.
Thank you very much, dear.
But please contact Rachel if you've got any questions or if you're interested in the workshop. I think we can all agree there's some good, really practical advice and tips. I certainly learned a few things from there that I can put on to adverts and things like that. So we can all sort of play our part. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
I'm going to keep mine a little bit tight and brief. So I'm going to be talking about social media tips for Christmas. Okay, quite a lot of content, so I'm not going to whiz through too quickly, but also I'm not going to dwell too much as well. So here's some tips and best practice that you should know, or that you perhaps you can put down into your plans if you're looking for a promotion on social media this year. I think my first thing with anything you do with marketing, social media, and in terms of even business, you need to have a goal. What is it you're trying to achieve? So I've given some examples here. So if you're writing social media messages, start from, do you want people to get to the website? Do you want to make the phone ring more? Do you want to get more visitors into your shop? This sounds really kind of all simple, but it then kind of shapes the message that you're going to be posting out. Okay, so if you want to make the phone ring more, tell people the telephone number to call. Shout about a new product or service. Tell them, show them the picture, and tell them about the service that you want to promote. As I say, create a plan, and all this needs to be Excel sheet or piece of A4 paper. Days across the top, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all the way through to Sunday, and you can have some times down the side. So you could do a message in the morning, message at lunchtime, message in the afternoon, message in the evening. It doesn't need to be too complicated, okay? And then just think about what you want to say. At this stage, it's not about writing the whole message out. Just like, I want to do a promotion about the new service. Bob's just started with us. I'm going out networking on Sunday. So looking at your diary and then just putting some quick pinpoints down on this little plan. You might have some ideas about the call to action, which I'll talk about shortly, and some of the hashtags that you might have seen around. Again, I'll talk about that shortly as well. Here, I'm talking about scheduling software. If you don't know what Buffer or Later is, write it down, have a look. It's a free service. It helps you promote helps you plan your social messages out. I say it's completely free. They will try to get you to buy the service. You don't need to, but you're just limited about what you can do with it. Okay, a question that I get asked an awful lot is about what channel should I be on? So I've used these 2 acronyms, which I will explain. B2B and B2C. So B2B is business to business. So if you predominantly sell to another business, you're going to be in that bracket. If you're selling directly to the consumer, so if you've got an eBay shop or you've got a high street shop, or Mrs. Jones comes to the bakery, then you're going to be predominantly B2C, okay? And I'll give you some examples. Twitter, LinkedIn, mainly B2B channels really. Instagram is much more popular now for businesses, and you've also got YouTube and Vimeo. B2C, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, Vimeo. As hands up here, who uses social media? Good. Who's on Facebook? And then who's on Twitter? Oh, that's good. That's better than what I thought. Okay, that's fine. So we're going to come to that in a minute. I've also got industry specialist channels. If you're creative, there's loads of them like Behance, Dribble, but you'll also have your own sector specialist channels or websites and that. So don't overlook those, because those can drive an awful lot of traffic and get your messages out there, or to support your overall goal. Keywords, okay, so this is we're going to come into kind of the Twitter and LinkedIn territory here a little bit. So this is, another word is hashtags, again, so keywords are very similar to hashtags. So basically these are words and phrases that people will type into search engines. It's language and conversation, so we've said about the acronyms, so then very often they can be hashtags or key phrases. And it's just key words or certain words that you hear time after again on telephone or face-to-face. Listen to what your customers are saying, look at what people are writing, and have a look at what people, your competitors are saying on their website. Start seeing the phrases like here, on page 1, page 2, page 3, then you know that potentially there's a keyword or phrase you might want to use. Keep a log of the most popular ones, definitely keep a list. I think it's a really good tip. When you're writing your message, you think of which hashtag should you use. If you've got a list there, you can just pick them out straight away. You can also use them in your website content when you're writing blogs or writing pages, headers and blog articles. Again, this is all really, really helpful. Okay, decide your message. So generally you've got 3 or 4 different pillars. So is it an information message? Is it about educational learning? Is it for entertainment? Are you going to be sharing a post? Is it an offer or promotion? Those are your general styles. And if you're looking for, I know we've got some retailers here, so if you're looking to promote an offer, some examples here, you can do a discount, coupon, online code, one-day special, introductory offer, new products or service. There's thousands of different types of ways you can sell your products and services, okay? When you're looking at using the image, sit with your post, avoid using other people's images without their permission. Okay, it's really important. It's getting much tougher now and the fines are starting to come through. So have a look at Unsplash. Fantastic website, excellent professional royalty-free images that you can use to sit alongside, put them on your website, social media. You don't have to ask permission at all to use it. So there's some great ones there. You need to put a call to action in your social media posts. If I was to look at most people's social media channels, it's like there'd be like some sort of message on there. It doesn't tell the reader what to do. You need to tell them what to do with that information. So here's a few examples. Read this, click here, buy, listen, watch. Those are the most common ones, okay? And then you put your link, or if the video is built in, then they'll do that. But if you don't tell them, they won't do it. What days and times should you post? This is very broad, okay? Every sector will have the best times and the worst times, but generally great times to post. First in the morning, everybody's getting up. First thing you do, look at your phone. Mid-morning, so coffee time. Lunchtime is another good one. Can be a bit quiet for some businesses. Evenings definitely, 5 till 8 o'clock, sometimes later. It really depends. If you're B2B, definitely evenings. People doing their LinkedIn, catching up, booking the meetings for the next days ahead. Avoid the afternoons though, 2 PM to 4 PM, generally graveyard periods, unless you're in education, might be a little bit different. So they give you some thoughts there. Okay, hashtags, we talked about keywords. So you have a list if you've been following this all the way through, but there are other key phrases that you can find, or hashtags. So if you go into Twitter, if you log into twitter.com, on the right hand side you'll see what the trending topics are. So it gives you an idea, I need to put a post out today, what I'm going to talk about, have a look what people are talking about, that's what you should do. You can change the city as well, or the town, so to make something more relevant to you. Have a look at your plan, so you definitely should be having your plan. Look at your competitors. So if you don't know what to be doing, look at your colleagues, look at your competitors, look at what's happening in your community. And look at just major pages and social accounts. Whatever they're doing generally gives you some ideas of what you can also do, all right? I think an important thing that people miss out with social media is review. So definitely look back to what you did. Did it work? Didn't it work? Have a look at the number of clicks you got, who retweeted it, who didn't retweet. Did it match your expectations? Who were you trying to get? So, but keep trying it, all right? Compare this, have a look at your competitors. Ask a friend for their opinion of social media messages. Does it make sense? Okay, there's lots of different things that you need to think about. The time of the day, the wording, the image, the hashtags, all these things we've been talking about in this short space of time. One key thing is you definitely should be sharing your customers' content. user-generated content is the phrase. So if they're showing pictures of what they've bought some clothes from you and they're showing what they look like, you should definitely be showing that. If they've just bought whatever service or using it, definitely share it. Okay, that's the best way you can get your content out there. But also mention your neighbouring businesses, your colleagues, your influencers, groups like this, because if we get mentioned, you tag us in, we'll automatically share your content for free. So we've got 1,100 people on the Facebook page, the best advertising you can get for nothing. Redcar Cleveland ambassadors, you should sign up today if you're not already an ambassador. They will share your content, not all the time, but if you're doing something Redcar centric, you've got something to shout about, they will share it. Some good hashtags here coming up, some good ideas. We've got Thanksgiving, I know it's a US tradition, but it will be trending in the UK. So it's the 28th of November, you've got Black Friday the 29th, and then followed by Cyber Monday, you've got Christmas Day, Boxing Day, all obvious things. But if you're doing your plan, write it out so then you know you won't forget. As it keeps them, that's kind of the message I really want you to take away today. I do apologise, I really have whizzed through that. There's a lot and I haven't really covered everything. Come and see me at the end if you've got any questions. If you need any help, you can always just drop me an email as well. And I'm going to hand over to Richard from Redcar Cleveland Ambassadors. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. For those who don't know me, my name is Richard Baker. I'm the Place Marketing Manager for Redcar in Cleveland, and I also run the Ambassador Programme. We wanted to do a pre-Christmas event, and Darren, who is on the Place board, we had a conversation about how best we do that, and Darren suggested that we kind of share the agenda this morning, which we're very grateful for, so thank you to the Business Network team for allowing us to do that. So I want to talk about a couple of things today. Firstly, kind of on behalf of the events and the Enjoy team within the council, just to briefly talk about the Christmas events and activities that will be coming up. You've got the leaflets on your seat, so you'll be able to refer to it, but I just wanted to talk about the main kind of stuff that's happening. In November, the Loftus Christmas Light Switch On starts off the festivities. That's on the 22nd of November. Then the Newmass Christmas Parade on the 29th of November, and the Saltburn Christmas event on the 30th of November, and details are in the leaflet. Moving into December, the Carlin Howe Christmas Light Switch On the 1st, Gizmo Christmas Festival on the 3rd, Eston Christmas Market and Entertainment on the 5th, Mask Christmas Festival, Santa Parade and Craft Fair on the 5th, and the Redcar Christmas Light Switch On the 7th. So it's probably worth remembering that these events will hopefully generate additional footfall in each of those towns. So it's worth bearing that in mind in terms of your opening hours and your staffing. So hopefully there will be increased activity in each place. So just bear that in mind and help promote those events as well to generate that extra footfall that hopefully everyone can benefit from, really. Moving on to sort of festive initiatives and initiatives closer to Christmas, it's worth bearing in mind Small Business Saturday on the 7th of December. That's a national campaign to support small businesses. So the focus of the country is on small businesses and the fantastic businesses that we have. And obviously we have a great array of those businesses within Redcar and Cleveland. So we should be shouting about them and celebrating them. So bear in mind that Twitter and other social media will be quite active around that time, particularly on the day. So take some photographs of your shop and your staff in your premises and share them. So share them on the Ambassadors Twitter, on the business one, Business in RC, and importantly the Small Biz Sat UK, and the hashtags as well. Put those on, and I'm pretty confident that Small Business Saturday will share a lot of the content. We've got a question.
Just to let people know, the Small Business Saturday bus will be actually on the 12th of November in central Middlesbrough. So
Yes.
any businesses want to actually come along to the bus, they're quite welcome between the hours of 10 and 2.
Yes.
That's being advertised on Twitter as well.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, we've got that on that bullet there, which is so that the mentoring session. So I think it's bookable appointments. So if you're interested, if you just go onto the website, which is the second bullet down there, and get involved with Small Business Saturday. It's a really good initiative. Moving a bit closer to home, so we would encourage people to shop local at Christmas. You know, obviously Christmas is the big time of the year for retail, and whilst it might be easy to shop online and visit the national shops, just bear your local traders in mind at Christmas and maybe try and buy a few stocking fillers for people from local traders, because you just get something a little bit different, a little bit unique. So we would be keen to see your posts and share your posts on social media. So if you take some photographs of your Christmas shop displays, the staff in the shop wearing Christmas jumpers and hats and that kind of thing. So remember to tag us in those posts, and perhaps use some hashtags such as shop RC at Christmas, just to sort of get things moving and sort of generate the interest in our local traders. So finally, keep in touch, and that sort of brings me on to the second thing that I wanted to talk about today. So Darren's mentioned it, that we've got the Ambassadors Programme, which is going really well. We've got around about over 350 ambassadors signed up onto the programme now, so it's really sort of getting some good traction. What that's all about is sharing good news and sharing positivity about Redcar and Cleveland. We've got no room for negativity on this programme. This is all about positive aspects of the borough and celebrating our success and sharing it. We've got various initiatives such as the Friday 5 on social media. That's going really well, and I think the interest in that is growing, and so much so that on Friday just gone we actually had a few people sort of asking that why weren't they on the Friday 5. So I think we're in a good place when we get into that situation. Maybe we need to go to a Friday 10, but it doesn't quite sound as good, does it really? But, we've also got a monthly newsletter, so obviously we're looking for things to go in that as well. We've got the website where we have news stories. We've got all sorts of other stuff on the website as well. So it's all about sharing good, positive news. We also have ambassador events. So the next kind of formal event is on the 3rd of December, and that's a Steel Stories kind of special event. So there's still some places on there, so I'd recommend you looking at that information, signing up and going along to that event. That'll be a really good one. Finally, as Darren mentioned, I'll be around later on. I would hope that we would get people who haven't signed up to sign up today and help us join the team, help us promote Redcar and Cleveland. Okay, thank you.
Oh, and it's free. There's no charge for this. So yes. Just a couple of quick things. I did promise a few minutes for people to promote their event. So has anybody got anything they'd like to? Oh, some hands going up. One in the middle, Joanna.
Shall I do both?
Yeah, you can do
Okay, so I've got two. On the 14th of December, for the second year in a row, Charm Productions are back at Tuned In with a very vintage Christmas. If you didn't come last year, come this year. It's a really good night. It's just a great big rock and roll Christmas party. We've got the lipsticks on stage, the Jersey Dream Boats on stage. There is a bar, so it's a good night. Tickets are £12 and they're available from Tuned In or from Eventbrite. And on the 20th of December, we're doing a vintage Christmas murder mystery at Daisy May's Tea Room.
How about trying the 7th of December?
And the 7th of December, sorry.
Yep.
Completely mixed up. The 7th of December, we're at Daisy May's,
Yep.
not the 20th. So that's the 7th of December, and tickets are available from the Tea Room or from Eventbrite, and they are £20 each and include a Daisy tea. Is
Yes.
that right?
Yes, that's
Good.
right.
Yes, they include a Daisy tea. But all of the events are listed on Facebook, and I'll send you the details as well to the network.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I've got another one. On the 13th of December, Friday the 13th, we've got Damaris Jean. She's a vintage singer coming for our another Christmas vintage event. So feel free to come look that up on Facebook, Daisy May's Vintage TV. Okay.
I saw some other hands go up. Hi.
Tina and I are from the Lincoln Charitable Trust, which are based on the hub, and we're a mental health charity. this year Mental Health Awareness Day was related around suicide prevention. We work with a lot of children and young people, and our focus this year is creating some hampers for care leavers. So children sort of aged between 16 and 25 that haven't. Christmas is a magical time for lots of us, but it isn't for everybody, and I think we need to spare a thought for some of those that haven't got the family support around them. Therefore, we're creating hampers. So taking donations, we've got collection points at the hub, looking for non-perishable items, treats, chocolates, biscuits, and age-appropriate gifts really, so the sort of smelly gifts and those kind of things. So
I think one of the other things is the savings stamps that you can get at supermarkets or gift vouchers, so that we put those into the hampers so the young people can get what they want themselves as well. So we're looking for donations really, whatever. I think we've got about this rest leaving care, and I think it's roundabout sort of. We've got to be looking for about 40 hampers, which is quite a lot. I mean, I didn't expect that many people to be on the basis, so it's quite a challenge, but everybody's helped. Yeah, we're going to rise to the doing.
Definitely tag us in. I've just put our details up here. Definitely tag the ambassadors in, and we'll reshare it on Twitter and Facebook and that. So just make sure you know the mention tags before you leave today, and we'll do that for you as well. Who was next? Karen?
Yeah, just another shout out for the Mask Christmas Parade, which I shouldn't be biased, but it is the biggest and best Christmas event in Santa, real life reindeer parade and everything else. Also Mask Community Christmas, we volunteer every Christmas Day, and it's been opened up this year to care leavers. So if you know any care leavers who will be spending Christmas Day on their own, please get them to put in touch with me. And if any businesses want to donate anything, we're pretty much covered. I think it's our 6th year this year. And last year we provided lunch, 3-course meal, presents, Santa, entertainment for 60 people who would have otherwise been on their own. The first year we've opened up to care leavers, so get in touch if you want to. Thank you.
A few more hands went up before Dawn.
We're from the Claxton Hotel at Redcar. We've got a lot of Christmas functions this year, but I've only got 2 that are not full now, which I'm very pleased to say. Friday the 6th of December, we've got a Christmas meal and traditional Christmas party that still has some places. And if anybody's looking for something different on New Year's Eve, we do a family Christmas party, somewhere where you can go with your children or your grandchildren. So it's children's entertainment from 7 till 9, a buffet supper, and then singing and dancing into the new year, and the children are welcome to stay all night. It's £20 for adults and £15 for children under 12.
Make sure you tag us in and we'll share that, and then Rebecca King, the ambassador, will do the same as well.
Yeah, well, Swan, I'll be doing my Knowing Numbers seminar again later this month. I don't have a date yet, but it'll be tagged in. If anybody wants to know personally, just see me afterwards, and I'll email you when it's in. But it's about understanding accounts, knowing what you can do with them when you understand them, explaining all the figures in business for anybody who doesn't understand all that.
Okay. Yeah.
So, Johanna from Beyond Housing's employability team. Some people in the room know that we deliver support for people aged 29 and under into employment. One of our successful methods that we have is providing funding to all small businesses creating a job role of 16 hours or more if they recruit through me. But one of the growing emerging areas we have is our hospitality academy, and we delivered a successful pilot on Monday evening where our students had completed bartending and cocktail making skills for the first time. Went down very well and joined with Northern Quarter businesses on Monday evening, and those students are now looking for work placements where they can come into your business. Most of them are placed, they're getting snapped up, but I do have around 3 or 4 people left that will be available to you free of charge. I'll manage their placement, and all we ask is that they have a reference so that I can then place them with another employer. And then the Hospitality Academy, I'm pleased to say, for front of house and cocktail making is expanded for next year. So thank you.
Great. Anyone else? Maybe one other person. Yeah, sure.
Hi, so myself and Josh are from EVA, Redcar, Whitby, the local bus service. So if anyone has any events that we can sort of help promote on bus promotion, we carry thousands of people every week. So we might be able to do that. It might be that you can tap into our social media. So if anyone needs, would like to meet up, we're more than happy to do that. Any charitable organisations here today can also promote them on bus. People can push them out to our drivers across the northeast. So more than happy to chat with anyone.
Opportunities for some good free advertising, really.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for that. We'll definitely catch up at the end, and we'll get that onto our pages as well. So that's fantastic. Thank you. Just a couple of quick things just before we move on. It's our last meeting. Today was our last meeting of the year. The next one will be on January, Wednesday the 8th of January, so you'll get an invite to come for that. There will be a festive get-together, I think, at some stage, but we don't know when. There's lots of other things going on as well, so just keep an eye on the Facebook page for that. Just make sure you've signed in before you go, just because just the car parking downstairs. And before we say have a fantastic Christmas, a Happy New Year, I just want to hand over to James from okay, Dan. And then he's just going to have a talk for 30 seconds.
Very, very quickly, I know you're going to be dashing off. Good morning, everyone. My name is Danny Savage. I'm the North of England correspondent for BBC News. For the next 6 weeks, I am travelling all around the UK, talking to people about, guess what, yes, the election, and asking people what they think. Now, we're not allowed to do vox pops, we've been told. I don't know if you probably all know what vox pops are. We've got to have constructive conversations with people now, is what we've been told. So this is not a case of shoving a microphone under somebody's nose and asking you how you're going to vote and why. It's more about what are the issues that matter to you. So we're doing a series of reports for Radio 4 News, first of which will go out tonight on the 6 o'clock news on Radio 4, and we're starting in Redcar. I've been to talk to a few people in the town already. I'd love to talk to a few of you. I appreciate many of you are going to dash off and head off, but it's just to find out what are the priorities. What would you like to see the politicians thinking about in this general election? What is important? Is it all about Brexit, or is it all about other issues? And it's simple as that. So I might just collar 1 or 2 of you afterwards to have a quick chat. That would be lovely. But that's merely all we're doing, and the piece will be on about Redcar on the 6 o'clock news on Radio 4 tonight. So thank you, and appreciate your few moments of your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, everybody. Have a great Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you.